Dunkirk. And let's start with Jack Loudon. Come on in, Jack, and let's applause. I saw Jack at breakfast today. Did you have a good breakfast with your mate today? I was sitting kind of, I pretended like I was sitting with you. And here we have Barry Keoghan. Is that right? Come on, Barry. And next up, of course, we have Mark Rylance. So very good to see you. And let's bring in now Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan. And coming up, of course, we have Finn Whitehead. Finn, good to see you again. And Harry Styles. It's going to go, come this way, please. Here we go, Harry, good to see you. And of course, we also have Emma Thomas, and that rounds out the cast and filmmakers for Dunkirk. And to start things off, let's start off with Christopher Nolan. I feel like in many ways, Mr. Nolan, you're like a new filmmaker making your first real live story on the big screen. What attracted you to Dunkirk?
Well, like most British people, Dunkirk's a story that I've grown up with. I don't even remember the first time I was told about the events at Dunkirk. And so, as kids, we received the sort of very simplified, almost mythic fairy tale version of what happened there. But over time, and in particular experience that Emma and I had about 20 years ago, where we made the crossing with a friend of ours who owned a small boat, and we made the crossing at about the same time of the year the evacuation had taken place, and went to Dunkirk. And the crossing was extremely difficult. The channel was very rough. It felt difficult and dangerous, and that was without people dropping bombs on us. That was without heading into a war zone. So I came away from that experience with my respect and fascination for the people who'd taken part in the real evacuation absolutely cemented. So it's just something that I've never quite understood why a modern film hasn't been made about it. And as a filmmaker, those are the kind of gaps that you're looking to fill.
Okay, let's kick it off with the press. We'll start right over here.
Is it on? Wow, the movie was amazing in IMAX. It was so awesome. My question is for Christopher Nolan. We've seen your career grow. You, independent filmmaker, kicking butt back then. Now, this epic war film you've created. Can you talk a little bit about the process moving forward in your career? How you choose your projects? How you guys as a team choose your projects? What you direct?
I mean, for me, it's always been about story. It's always been about finding a story that hooks me, that I feel that I can have an emotional connection with, that'll sustain me through the years of making the film. I'm very single-minded. I only really do one thing at a time. I'm not very good at planning what I'm going to do next. So I dive in and I concentrate on one film for 2 or 3 years usually. And so it has to be a story that I feel is going to hook me emotionally for that period of time and keep me enthusiastic about it.
Emma, where do you fall into place with all this?
I guess I produce the films that he gets enthusiastic about. I mean, we only really work together, and so, I mean, I try and suggest things to him. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But, it really has to be a film that Chris is excited about and sees something that he can do that's different and he can get behind.
Right over here.
I'm very curious about about your editing process. How long was your first cut on this compared to the finished film? And also, you haven't really released deleted scenes from your previous films. Have you pulled like a Kubrick where everything has been burned? Or do you have them in a vault somewhere where one day they might see the light of day?
I know, they're all in the films. I mean, I have a great editor, Lee Smith, and we find a way to just stuff more and more into the sausage. So we don't really tend to leave anything on the cutting room floor. In terms of complete scenes that would be coherent on a deleted scenes feature. If you look back at my past, like Insomnia, we have 2 deleted scenes on the DVD there because we had 2 scenes that I liked very much that had to come out of the film for time. And after that, I really took the view of trying to make those decisions on the page. So being a writer-director, I don't come to the floor with things that, well, let me put it this way. Making films is hard. All of these people here can attest to that. It's just difficult, and you'll do anything to not shoot something if you don't have to. So I try and pull things out at script stage that I don't think are going to serve the narrative.